Goodness me, I'm up for this. We say a very good morning to a man who, I have to say this, has saw me naked 30 minutes ago. Charlie Rowley, good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm still lost for words.
I didn't know you were going to come into my room.
Well, neither did I.
Are you in a good mood as a result?
I am delighted.
I found myself saying, I'm so sorry, I'm not in very good trim for a 60-year-old. And he went, oh no, you look great.
You do look great. I can confirm to your listeners,
who
are now veering off the road, I'm sure.
Probably they're not. I don't mind if you want to send me a message saying where's I'll fill you in. We've got loads coming up on the show. Charlie, let's get straight to it. I mean, it's an important day, but let us start, please, with that story. The Epping Forest judgment, a massive judgment a couple of weeks ago. The local council there taking the Home Office to court, and I think to put it into context, 2 o'clock this afternoon, the Home Office is going back to court to argue that asylum seekers' rights outweigh local concerns. That's the Home Office that's supposed to what? Protect, look after and be strong for the United Kingdom.
Exactly. It is the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes.
Home is in the name, folks,
yes.
You know. And if you can't look after people who are British residents, if you can't look after local communities in the UK and you're prioritising people who've come over on a small dinghy, who you don't know who they are, you don't know where they've come from, you don't know what conflict they're fleeing, they don't even know their own age, or they certainly do, but they don't tell you the right one. And yet the Home Office is going to court, spending even more of taxpayers' money on trying to fight what is clearly against the will of the people, which is to close down these hotels in local communities. It is beggars belief.
There was clashes again last night outside the Bell Hotel, both sides. I mean, we try and be as balanced as we can, but I struggle. I struggle to not understand how the average person cannot say in this country, right, look, we're good to help people, but at the end of the day, we're skint. We can't afford the interest on the debts we've got, and people in this country are suffering. And we know these people are... Do you know, I said this to somebody the other day, right? If I was in a war-torn country with my wife and kids and there were bombs raining down on my head, I wouldn't leave them there, would I? I'd bring them with me. This is illegal young men coming to this country because we're as soft as anything and taking advantage. How do you think the judgment goes today? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
It is, because I actually think, I hope, well, as much as everybody else, the decision will be upheld, because the change of use of the hotel is where the judgment has come from.
That's the legal judgment.
Because you're supposed to, if you have a change of use, you're supposed to consult the local people, and this is a planning issue, so it's, it is quite a nifty way.
But it'd be very interesting, without being conspiratorial, whether the institutions and government put pressure on this judge, or whether the judge is as brave as the judge last week. But we'll bring you that live on a talk from 2 o'clock. Now, of course, all the newspapers will start with the Sun. Fantastic headline. When I read stuff like this, right, I honestly think I'm living in a parallel universe and that I've lost the will to live, right? On the front of the Sun, more brilliant work by Thomas Godfrey. We'll try and get him on later. Balloonacy is the headline. We are allegedly, and I mean, again, thousands of pounds being blowed on hiring staff, you ready for this, to teach balloon craft and floristry to migrants facing the boot. Painting and hairdressing tutors and a gym boss are also wanted for Heathrow's Immigration Removal Centre. 160 grand a year this is going to talk. So we're basically saying to migrants, come to this country, we'll teach you how to paint, to dye your hair, we'll teach you how to blow up balloons so that you can go to a kid's party. Why would you want to send a migrant to a kid's party? I mean, the whole thing is so ludicrous. And when people tune in and they hear this stuff, they must go, why am I about to get in my car and go to work and pay my council tax and get my kids to school and sit in a traffic jam? The world's gone nuts, man.
Totally. And those 4 roles, it says, plus a vocational skills tutor, amount to £165,000 a year. that is 41,000. I did the maths out.
Well done, dear.
£41,250 per role. £41,250 for somebody to teach someone that's come into this country illegally how to blow up a balloon. Now, that is... I mean,
we laugh about it. We laugh about it, but it's barking mad.
Totally.
Hold on a second. Sarah Pochin from Reform already on the text message this morning. Look at this. Have a great show, Jez. Looking forward to see you and Mike at conference. She's up early with the lot. What do you make of this balloonacy? A great headline on the front of the Sun. I mean, I know we joke about it, but job ads to teach flower arranging to men who aren't here legally, who have come in without any vetting. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Start your message with the word talk. We've got a clip of a hotel owner, Samuel Leeds, in Cambridgeshire, trying to explain to people just what this is like for local communities. Let's see if we can play it now.
They want me to house illegal immigrants in my 26-bedroom hotel here in Cambridge. I was offered by a company that offered to pay me £35,000 per month for almost 7 years. That's a lot of money. And they were going to use it to house illegal immigrants. And I said, no. Now, commercially, does it make sense? Well, I don't care if I make more money or less money. I want to run it as a hotel. On principle, that's what I decided. Sometimes you have to stick to your principles and put your values over money.
It's unbelievable, right? That's £2 million. I did the maths there that he's turned down because of principles. How many people would take that money, though? And where is all this money coming from the Home Office when we don't seem to be able to provide the most important rudimentary things for the people of this country? I keep using the phrase on Drive, indigenous population. But the whole reason this migrant crisis is where it's at is I think, you know, for years we've always done the right thing, OK? But we're skinned. We can't afford the interest on the debts we've got. So if you say to your population, thanks for paying your stamp, thanks for doing everything, but you know what? We're going to screw you. We're going to make sure that you're having a hard time and we're going to favour other people. It just doesn't sit, does it?
Totally. And there are two things there. I mean, fair play to that chap
Unbelievable.
There, who's sticking by his principles, because in the long term, if he did lease out that hotel or that property or whatever he's got there, you know, he would lose business in the long term because people just would not go back to the area. And I think that's why people are now recognising, actually, it doesn't matter how much money the Home Office can throw at me, I'm not going to take that bung because in the long term it's not in my interest. But you're absolutely right, Rick. It is about fairness, and you know, British people will willingly, brilliantly open up their homes to people they need to, like you know the situation in Ukraine. But when it becomes too much for people, when you're seeing,
it's a what's it take, isn't it, out of the British public?
Exactly.
When, I don't want to go into it too much, but when Rylan Clark, bless him, on ITV's This Morning, has the ability, gumption, or whatever you want to call it, stupidity, some would say this morning, to actually sit there yesterday and say, this is unacceptable. Let me tell you, from somebody who worked at ITV, that would have shook the very foundations of that woke institution. I think the British people are speaking. Graham's in Enniskillen. If Cooper gets this injunction on the Bell Hotel Jez overturned today, there will be widespread civil unrest. That's nothing that anybody wants, but I think the government, whatever colour, need to understand the people have reached a seminal moment, and they are at the end of their tethers. Only because, right, Charlie, they look at what's going on in their lives and they go, oh, hold on a minute, I'm at the back of the bleeding queue and I've never had a handout. I've never broken the law. Margaret's on. Morning, JK, up with the lark. Yvette Cooper should resign today or Starmer gets some balls and sack her. She's useless. The Home Office, let's repeat that, in every single newspaper today is basically saying the rights of migrants outweigh the rights of local communities. Disgusting. Now let's talk about a story that we broke on Drive last night. Came in this morning. Christian and I just like open-mouthed. I'm going to read this in as calm a way as possible, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by. Essex Council has offered support to staff who feel unsettled by St George's flags that have been put up across the country in recent weeks. In an email last night, Essex County Council bosses told workers that the flags may evoke feelings of discomfort and be associated with anti-immigration rhetoric, particularly those colleagues who are of colour. This is money being spent by Essex Council if you're traumatised by seeing the United Kingdom flag. The brilliant J.D. Vance, Vice President of the US, well, he sort of pushed back last night in an interview on Fox News. This is J.D. Vance. We need more like him here.
It's okay to be proud of your country. It's in fact a good thing to be proud of your country, and we should push back against the crazies who say we should be so ashamed of our culture and of our heritage that we shouldn't be willing to fly a flag. It's craziness. We had to call that craziness out. I'd encourage our European friends to follow suit.
Why does it take a man, the Vice President of America, on Fox News to speak what most people think? I don't understand this, and I'm going to end up sounding like my dad, who obviously doesn't sound like that because he's dead now. But the truth is this, right? My old man would be saying, what's wrong with being proud? All I ever hear is, oh, it's being grabbed by the far right. Why can the Scots and the Welsh and the Irish fly their flag? Why can I not fly the Union Jack? If you go to America, it's on every house, and yet we have councils in this country say, oh, you'll be traumatised, or you know, there's a health and safety risk. Tosh. It's rubbish, man.
Totally. And you know what? Let's suppose that there is a group of people who are on the far right that use it as a symbol for their good. You know what? that is for them. That is not the majority of people who are proud of this country, proud to fly that flag, that know what it means totally. And you're absolutely right. Go to America, you see the flag everywhere. We should be having our Union flag raised above public buildings. They should be in schools. It should be about waking up in the morning and knowing that you're making a contribution for you and your family and to serve your country where you need to and where you can to.
But you're not, because you're waking up now in this country and thinking, why do I live my life correctly? If you're a veteran, I see one every weekend. I go to the same town on a Saturday morning. Mrs. Carr sends me off with my list, and he sat there. Whenever I say, do you want the meal deal? He says, I'll have the Mars bar. It makes me laugh. He did 14 years, mate. He's on the street. There are migrants in a hotel down the road. That is not logical, it is not fair, and it is not sustainable. And for people who think that this is rhetoric, you're missing the point. For J.D. Vance to say it, I want politicians to say it. Nigel Farage this week stood up and talked about deportations. And whatever your political persuasion, I think a large number of people in this country will have gone, well, there's somebody who seems to be listening, reading the room, understanding what people are thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Totally. And look, you know, you talk about politicians, Sally, the only credit, which is, you know, decent of me, I think, you know, being a former Tory, to give to...
You're a former Tory, are you?
Well, I'm a...
Oh, sorry, an exclusive at 6:15. Have you moved to Reform yet?
Former Tory advisor, I should say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been on Morning Glory for 15 minutes and we might just have got a Charlie Rowley exclusive.
As a former Tory advisor, but there is the deputy leader of the Labour group on Essex County Council that said everybody should see the flag as a symbol of their nation, which would represent all the values of Britain, including tolerance. He is right, but why do so many other people who work at the council, clearly civil servants and people that work in Whitehall, and other people on the far left and left who don't see it as that symbol? So he is right. So there's a bit of balance there just for the Labour group. But you're absolutely right. You know, why should people be tolerating this? Why are veterans sleeping on the streets and not put into that hotel accommodation over and above people that come from, you know, Eritrea? Now, you know, there'll be many...
Mate, absolutely. I wake up and I come in here and I read Balloonacy on the front of the Sun. I read on the front of the Daily Mail. You know, I read on the front of every single... The Times, everywhere. I'm not talking about the Telegraph. I'm talking about the Mirror. And you go, sorry, where am I living right now? Because you know, people are on benefits because they've made a choice. There are many who don't get what they deserve. I don't have a problem, as I said to you downstairs, paying taxes for people who are hard up. I don't have a problem with looking after those who can't help themselves. But we have got to a point in this country where we seem to wipe the backside of people who are taking advantage. And, I mean, it shook me the other day. I said this. The King, when Macron, that little man, was over visiting, he said, we don't have a border between us. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm a royalist. If you haven't got a border, Charles, you ain't got a kingdom. If you ain't got a kingdom, you're not going to be king. We have a border. We're an island. That doesn't mean we can be labelled unfair. It's just we can't afford to wipe the backside of the rest of the world when it's impacting on this country. And honestly, every single day, this is not going away. And when the loony left go, oh, you're all far right, we're not. We're just talking common sense, and that's what talk is about. 0344 499 1000. Nan in Wales. Is that your Nan or is that your name, Nan? I don't know. Good morning, Jez. If the court judgment today goes in favour of the Home Office, it with the straw that broke the camel's back. Close the blooming hotels, put them into detention centres and arrange their flights back to their home. It's an insult to hard-working Brits. Sean, good morning. He's in Gloucester. Do you know who lived in Gloucester?
No, you?
Dr. Foster, you thought I was going to say something else there, didn't you? I think we are now finally... He thought I was going to say Fred West. I think we are now finally realising how far the loony left have infected everything, Jez. They ruin everything and their arguments are illogical. To get out of the mess we're in, we need a radical change, and it's looking like that change is Nigel Farage and the Reform Party. Immigration is just the tip of the iceberg of the issues that have been created. Mark, good morning in Croydon. Jez, the fact the Home Office are challenging this tells you all you need to know. They don't give a damn about us. There must be a bigger picture we can't see as to why they continue along this path with the illegals and the cost. Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the logistics or the sense of politicians who still seem to be beating the drum that we should be concerned about the rest of the world to the detriment of the United Kingdom. I've had to stand up arguments with people who go, but we're Great Britain. We should do the right thing. Yeah, but we can't afford it anymore. We have a government that's apologising. It seems apologists. And what I found really interesting is, if you speak to Starmer and all of his cronies, they're globalists, aren't they, Charlie? They want to look good in the world. I've Harry Cole on this week from DC, right? You know what he said to me? Americans are laughing at us, mate. Laughing at the fact that our country is being invaded by illegal migrants. Laughing at the fact that free speech is being quashed. Laughing at the fact that we have millions of people on benefit who are taking advantage. That's the truth.
Totally. And how many times, this is where we are today, because with that ruling, I think, whether it's Nan there, your last caller.
Nan.
Yes. Sort of, she is right. This will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, because how many times do politicians need to be told? So whether it goes back to Brexit, there was a referendum, there was an outcome. The idea that the government then wanted to overturn it, have a second referendum, all of that nonsense. You go with what people... And the idea that the government have put itself deliberately, squarely against the British people, against people in Epping, against every other local authority that wants to make this kind of challenge, is absurd. UKIP won the European elections in 2014. There was a referendum in 2016. The Brexit Party came out on top, I think, in 2019. Boris Johnson won in 2019 on the premise of getting Brexit done.
What a letdown he was.
And that's what the people wanted, obviously, and that's what they voted for. But for too long, too many governments and people in positions of power have not been listening to the British public on this issue, and that is why Nigel Farage is as popular as he is. He's speaking the language.
Are you moving to reform?
Hard-working. It's hard not to be attracted to them.
Very interesting, very true.
It's incredibly because when you're looking at the state of the country, not just when it comes to illegal immigration, but just politics in general, when you have a blob of civil servants that always say, just take the Home Office. They are a blob of civil servants that are saying, no, Minister, that's far too difficult, or no, we've got to send money.
Oh, I would rail back, mate.
And you need somebody to come in and really, I think, as a whirlwind through departments and shake it. And he seems to be the man. Kemi, I think, needs a bit of time.
Needs a bit of time. Can we? Sorry. What did she say this week? Well, we're still talking about it. It's been 12 months, love. You lost because the British people didn't believe a word you say. Let's have a look at the scene, by the way, outside the Bell Hotel last night. Let me just tell you this. 2 o'clock today will be the judgment. As Charlie said, our own Home Office is saying, we believe migrants' rights are more important than yours, the indigenous population. This was last night.
Send them back! 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 Send them back!
I have mixed feelings about that, right? Because, of course, there are people that will look at that and go, that's thugs in jackets shouting, send them back. I prefer to remember the stuff at Epping with the mothers who were saying, I'm concerned about my teenage daughter. I've got a teenage daughter. There was a disgusting story on Dorset Beach the other day where that migrant stuck his hands down a young girl's trousers and the judge went, we can't send him to jail. It was a mere aberration. He's had a hard upbringing. He can stay forever. That drives me completely and utterly insane. We've got voice note number 1, 21 minutes past 6. James, you're on, go.
Good morning, Jazz. Now, I am getting sick to death of working hour after hour, 6 days a week now, like most people in this once brilliant country, paying for these to come on these boats. I want to go to work and I want to pay for ex-veterans so they don't have to live on the street and old age pensioners so they can put their heating on. That's why I want to go to work. When are this government going to wake up and start smelling the bloody coffee?
I completely agree. Talk morning, Jez. Jeff from Lincolnshire. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. I do an average 60 hours a week, sleeping in my lorry away from my kids 4 days a week. I served in the Navy, submarine service, 11 years during the Cold War. My wife is a nurse, never been on strike. We earn a decent wage. We, yes, have our own house. Why then am I struggling to pay my mortgage and my bills that everybody else seems entitled to? This country is a laughingstock. Do one, Starmer. Take your lemmings with you. There you are, hard-working people who are going to work this morning to do what's right, to pay their taxes, to make sure their kids are clean and fed and healthy and all those sorts of things. Why would you? That's what I hate about this scenario. Why would you live your life correctly when this government and these institutions seem to go, do you know what? It's more important that a man who walks onto Dorset Beach, right, gets to... Has anybody stopped and thought about that 17-year-old schoolgirl, the PSD she'll have for the rest of her life? When I see all these people jump up and down and talk about women's rights, where are they talking about that girl? No, they're on the back of all migrants, poor migrants. No. What about the court? Oh, well, she's English, it doesn't matter. I think we have reached the most extraordinary moment in our history. It's 6:22, we're live across the UK. Raleigh Choli, I'm joking, Charlie Rowley saw me naked 40 minutes ago. He's never been so up for it in my life. We're here, your voice notes 0344 and your text 87222. We're coming back in 3 because already I need a wee. See you in a bit. Welcome back 6, we're live across the United Kingdom. It's Morning Glory, you unlucky people. Jez for Mike for the next few days. Don't worry, he's landed in New York, and like all members of the Graham clan, they did not go to bed. They're out in an Irish bar, so I can't put him on. Thanks for tuning in this morning. We're on till 10, 0344 499 1000. And in this first hour, we're joined by a very excitable Charlie Rowley, who saw me naked 45 minutes ago. My wife is listening and has just... I think I'm going to buy a flagpole for the front of our house. I'm so... What's it off with it? There you are. That's the power of Morning Glory. Joe says, Jez, every single person who supports illegal migrants over British people should open up their homes and look after them. Practice what you preach. There you have it. I wonder whether this elite class in Hampstead, who've never been north of Watford Gap, and I'm talking about Starmer and his cronies, what would they do if there was a migrant hotel next to their multi-million-pound houses in Hampstead? Serious question.
Yeah, well, I think they probably wouldn't want one there like everybody else. But you're absolutely right. You know, there will be people out there who have opened up, particularly, you know, when it came to Ukraine, they opened up their hearts, they've opened up their homes, because it's the right thing to do. When
it was the right thing to do.
Exactly, because as British people, we are fair, and we can recognise when there's an issue, and we get to the shoulder to the wheel, and we'll make a good go of correcting it or dealing with it. But when it becomes unfair, systematically unfair, day after day of people coming in, taking us for a ride, you know, those other callers that wake up at 4 a.m, you know, they work hard, they play by the rules,
Why
they
would
do
you
the right thing.
That's my point.
Why would you? Exactly. You know, these are hard-working people. These are people, you know, someone's in the NHS. You know, somebody who served the country. You know, now, what is the point? Your taxes are going up, crime is going up, you know, there isn't hotel accommodation or any kind of accommodation for exceptions. It is all one-way traffic. It is wrong, and that is why you're seeing the pushback from so many people. They're right to push back, and that's why the judgment this afternoon, I think, is so important.
It's going to be massive. The judgment, 2 o'clock, live on Talk. Steve's in Sussex. Jezza, the problem has been caused because the English have never flown their flag except at football. Apathy of the English by not standing up for themselves has caused this. I've had a flag on my house for years, no problem, sod them all. There you go. Now, let's look at the people that are, in fact, our bosses. Let's look at a little snapshot of the politicians that lead this country. There was some extraordinary footage of our Angela this week. Who can forget? I'm sorry, in front of the Telegraph. There she is again, look. Front of the Daily Telegraph, Angela Rayner. You can see the tattoo. I don't know what it says, downwards. She's got the vape, she's got Lambrusco. She was in a blow-up dinghy. Apparently, not heading back into Britain, she was trying to get... Well, she was outside the front of a new £800,000 house flat in Hove. The third property, not the constituency house, not the Admiralty Arch Grace and Favour apartment. No, this time an £800,000 house. Now, we're not quite sure how she got the mortgage, OK? We're not quite sure why she needs 3 houses. We're certainly not impressed with the fact that she and many other in the Labour Party have been saying for years that it's disgraceful that people have second homes and take them away from locals. But there's a great story out this morning, which is I'm going to keep doing again and again. Apparently she saved 40 grand in stamp duty on a new seaside flat after telling tax authorities that now in Hove was her main home. Not the constituency home, not Admiralty Arch. So there we have it. You know, people going to work. Angela Rayner, the darling, you know, the darling of the Labour people and the unions, as bad as the rest of them, mate.
Well, I think that's absolutely right. And look, you know, there used to be a campaign slogan to stop the boats under the Tories, and if you saw that dinghy coming your way, you'd want to stop.
I was surprised because I thought she'd be in Ethiopia, didn't you? Have we got the Ethiopia? Have you ever seen the Ethiopia clip?
I'm afraid
the woman can't say... Well, they get that up. I'll tell you, we've got a voice note straight away. Laura on Angela Rayner, go.
Morning, Jeremy. Good to have you on early. Laura in Wiltshire. Completely agree with you with the whole Home Office about Cooper story, but don't let it get away, make you not notice what Angela Rayner's been doing. The Vicky Pollard of our government. Looks like she's managed to dodge 40 grand of stamp duty. Apparently it's all entirely legal, but how utterly hypocritical of her. Anyway, hope you're not too exhausted by the end of the morning. Great show.
What a lovely lady, Laura in Wiltshire. It's true, though, isn't it? You know, Angela Rayner, the darling of the unions, right? The woman who, you know, talks about working people, about as far removed from working people. We're quite surprised on Morning Glory, because usually, honestly, the trip... I've got to play this. This is her in Ethiopia. Have a listen.
It's been an incredible experience coming to Ethiopia. The UK is committed to working with Ethiopia and the UK economy to work with the Ethiopian economy. His aspirations for Ethiopia's future. It was great to visit Ethiopia's stock exchange and learn more about how it's unlocking Ethiopia's potential. We will build on to deliver jobs for Ethiopia and the UK. The UK continues to work with Ethiopia here in the UK and Ethiopia. Ethiopia.
She can't even say Ethiopia. That is the Deputy Prime Minister of this hellhole that's called the United Kingdom. Ethiopia.
Where was she again?
Ethiopia.
You wouldn't have known, would you?
But on a serious note, dodging 40 grand's worth of stamp duty, dodgy as anything.
Well, you've just said she is the Deputy Prime Minister, but as part of that, she's also the Housing Secretary. That is what beggars belief about this whole thing.
I don't know if you... Mike, genius, as you know, I'm in love with him, but sorry, that didn't sound right, but as a broadcaster, he called her this week, this is genius, the Minister for Housing herself.
Yes.
And no other bugger. Let's be honest. 3 houses, 3 pads Rayner.
Yep.
And she called them Tory scum, and she talked about jobs for the boys and the noses in the trough.
Exactly.
They're worse.
It is exactly as, do as I say, not as I do. This all goes back to when Starmer came in and had all the freebies that were, thrown at him. She is now, before... casually before a budget comes into place in the autumn, where taxes are clearly going to have to go.
We'll talk about that next, shall we?
Where they're looking at property, exactly, where they're looking at trying to make a pretty penny from people's properties, and she has gone to what seems to be saved a pretty penny herself on this stamp duty by not necessarily breaking the rules. She hasn't broken the rules, as your last voice note said, but as a politician, as someone that needs to be whiter than white in terms of doing things by the book, she has not, I don't think, adhered to the moral code by, effectively flipping houses by saying, I'm changing my location
all the time,
to save a bit of money. No one else can do that in this country. No one else would do it in this country, I don't suppose. But there you go. That's the Deputy Prime Minister.
That is our Deputy Prime Minister outside her seaside apartment in Hove with a bottle of Lambrusco. Look, such terrible... So these are the people, right? These are the people that govern us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our Ange. Who is that paddling? This is what is that the ex-ginger-headed MP that she was knocking off, allegedly? Or is that... Look at her. Honest to God, man. Who is that? Is that Starmer? I mean, is it Starmer? It doesn't look as good as me, does he, at 20 to 6 in the morning, Charlie? Come on.
They've got a paddle there, so it can't be Starmer. They're up the creek without one at the minute.
Oh, very good. Stand up, coming your way not. 0344 499 1000. What do you make of Angela Rayner? 03 she's been in Ethiopia. 0344 499 1000. Let's now talk about a woman who can't bleed and well add up. Right? I cannot in my life, and listen, I voted Tory in my life. I didn't last time. I thought they had lost everything, the ear of the British people, and I felt massively let down. Rachel Thieves, Richard III, Rachel from Accounts. I'm an economist. Really? Your fringe is crap and you can't add up. On the front of the Daily Mail this morning. Now, Asda boss tells Reeves, stop taxing everything. I remember, front of the Mail, I remember... during the campaign, when you're broadcasting, everybody would know this, you have to be quite balanced, right? I remember thinking, I do remember 79, and I do remember the last Labour government, and basically what happened was that any union that wanted a pay rise got it or went on strike. And the only way that Labour ever pays for anything is to tax everybody. And there are many rumours, are there not, that Rachel Reeves is going to tax Middle England. Am I right in saying she's summoned Torsten Bellend, who's about 11, to be her new sort of financial guru? This is the guy that came up with the slab for Ed Miliband, isn't it?
Oh, it could be. I didn't know
the slab when he was the leader that said,
the Edstone.
That was him.
Yes.
So she is essentially the most incompetent chancellor we've ever had, and we are heading potentially to going cap in hand to the IMF because they've made such a bleeding mess of it all.
Totally. I mean, think back to the election. It was only last year. She was very, very clear, very unequivocal. We are not going to raise taxes on your income tax, on VAT, or national insurance. What does she do? Coming into office, raises national insurance.
Do you rate her?
No.
No, I'll just take her there because she would argue. I think it's only fair that we balance this. This is Rachel Reeves. She swears that she's an economist. Have a watch, have a listen. In your own time.
Well, I'm an economist. I studied economics. I got a master's in economics from the London School of Economics, and I worked as an economist at the Bank of England.
Well, there you are.
I'm an Ethiopia. I'm an economist. How can she be an economist? She can't add up, man. The head of Asda's saying it. Businesses, when you come to power and you go, it's all about growth. Well, then why are you increasing NI on small and medium-sized businesses? You're screwing the economy. You're not helping anybody because they haven't got a plan, man.
No, exactly. And that is even more frustrating because they've had 5 years. When Starmer came in as leader of the opposition, just like Yvette Cooper, she'd been the Shadow Home Secretary for a long time. She'd been chair of the Home Affairs Select Committee. You would have thought they'd have a plan as to what they're going to do.
I'm actually really surprised, on a serious note, how little plan they had. I mean, they had Sue Gray. It was going to be the first 100 days days. You know, they always say that in new parliaments. I mean, she'd gone before 100 days had even been through, and they've been saying, I can have such fun this morning. I mean, Rachel Reeves can't add up. Angela Rayner's screwing us over stamp duty and drinks Lambrusco, and I haven't even started on the next two. Ed Miliband. I have a real issue. Today there's a story in the Telegraph about Islamophobia training for staff. I just want to talk about yesterday, earlier in the week, energy bills went up again. Again, let's just talk about the sensible, common sense answer to this, and I'd love you to help me out because nobody can. So you come to power and you say, I'm going to lower your energy bills, and the way you're going to do that whilst caring about the green issues is you're going to create wind farms. But the problem with wind farms is it doesn't blow enough to create enough electricity. So the downside of that is you then have to import it from somewhere else, which is more expensive, so your bills go up. But worse than that, if it blows a hoolie, which it does occasionally in this country because there's never any balance, that makes it go too quickly and it creates too much and we can't store that, and it costs too much money to turn the bloody thing off. And yet all this while, underneath the ground, we've got oil, gas and electricity that we refuse to do it because it'll upset the friends of the earth. Again, madness, Charlie, madness.
And I've got no explanation for it, Jimmy.
He is the biggest idiot honestly, he's even worse than those two. This is him saying, I will lower your energy bills by £300. Go.
This was based on independent modelling, which is what we used in the election, that said that bills will be up to £300 lower in a clean power system. And what I was going to say, Naga, and this is really, really important, is we now have the National Energy System Operator, the independent body that has looked at these plans and says it's achievable, which is really important. It gives us energy security, it will lower the cost of electricity, and it can lead to lower bills.
So we've seen a Deputy Prime Minister who's taken the mickey. We've got a Chancellor who can't add up. And we've got that, right? This is what Starmer said before the election about the reduction of bills as well. Have a listen. Another liar.
Now, clean British power is, renewables, which is about a third of the price of fossil fuels at the moment. And that ought to bring down the household bills by about £400 for each bill, but that's a permanent drop. This is the big difference, I think. Sorry, I know, I'm obviously missing the point this morning. So that's four of them. Lies, unintelligent, what are the British people, and actually on a serious note, supposed to think? They see that rubbish, those lies, blatant lies, and then we go back to what's happening in this country. We go back to the fact that the Home Office today is challenging what the British people in Epping went to court to get. They wake up to a headline on the front of the Sun saying we're going to teach party skills to migrants. And people go, hold on a minute, we've got incompetent idiots running us who... we've got a business secretary who said he was a solicitor. We had a transport secretary who nicked a mobile phone. What did we have? A corruption minister who's being done for corruption. And we had a homeless minister who said it's absolutely dreadful and threw people out of a flat that she owned to get more money. Farcical.
Totally. You know, politics is simple, but it's not easy.
I think it is easy. Be honest, stand up, take it, ups and downs, go on the journey, do your best.
Yeah, totally. But the one thing that you need to do is, well, do what you say you're going to do. And if you say you're going to lower people's energy bills and they go up, don't then gaslight the British public by saying, oh, we're going to continue to get them to come down, when they're not. Don't say we're going to tackle the immigration crisis and then see thousands more people come into the country illegally. Don't say we're going to be a government that's going to go for growth to cut people's taxes, only then to put up taxes later on. Who do you think you are? Do not take the British public for fools.
That is exactly...
see through this, and that's what angers so many people.
I completely agree. Morning, Carl from Richmond. Why did I do that? It's posh there. The guy just offered 35 grand a month for his hotel. Is not just crazy, and well done for him for keeping it as a hotel. It should be. He's keeping his industry alive. But the worrying thing is he was offered it for several years. I've heard of another offer for a rental house in North London for 10 grand a month for migrants for 10 years. This is not fixing the problem. This is committing to an ongoing problem. Lynn, morning, Jez. I'm so furious with this government. I'm going against my wishes to get rid of these migrants. I'm considering not paying my taxes. Listen, I can't advocate anything like that, but I absolutely understand people's frustration. You know, hold on a second. We're doing everything right. We're being screwed. Dave in Swanley. Do we know where Swanley is? I don't know. Nice to hear you in the morning, Joe. Another stealth tax that will be heaped on working people is the proposed tax on landlords. That will immediately be passed on to the tenant in increased rent. Absolutely. Derek Fisher. We Americans are not laughing at the UK over illegal migration. We are crying for you. Lovely. Thank you so much. Joe in Oswestry. Do you know the most famous person that came from Oswestry?
No.
Ian Woosnam, the golf. I don't know where that's come from. Morning, Jez and Charlie. Oh, we're a couple. I'm up at 4, 6 days a week. Drive 60 miles to work. Get home at 9 in the evening. Too tired to eat. Too tired to enjoy my one day off. I can't afford a holiday. I can barely afford my shopping. I feel like nothing but anger every day. Slim from Burnley. Been on the jab. Slim's on. Good morning, Jez. Union Jack and St George's flags are lining the roads everywhere up there in Burnley. Good. And surrounding areas. And it's great to see. Great show, mate. Would be great to see yourself and Mike Graham doing a show up in Burnley. Well, news about our live show coming in the next hour because tickets go on sale this morning. I'll tell you more about the world of common sense with Jez and Mike very soon. Nicola from Norfolk. Morning, Jez. I'm sick of Labour politicians justifying their breathtaking hypocrisy by claiming that their nose in the trough antics are within the rules. Anyone with a scintilla of moral code would not do it. Change the bloody rules. I'm so let down by the political class. That's the problem, right?
Totally. And just going back to that chap from Burnley. Burnley is an area traditionally of Labour heartland. The hard-working people that are, traditionally working class, that have voted Labour all of their life. And they switched to Boris in 2019 because they thought that might have been a break from the past.
What a letdown that was.
Turned out to be. And that's why, people voted for any old change, which happened to be this Labour government, but people in Burnley, people in the north, people up and down the country that in traditional Labour heartlands are switching to Reform. They are going that direction.
Well, on the basis that I've had a big leading light and Reform text me. I've just heard Charlie Rowley say that he could come over to our side. Is that right?
Who's this from?
I'm not telling you.
Is
this true?
Well, of course there's an attraction. Of course there is. They are doing all the things that I think the British public will want to hear.
I think they're showing the British public that they are listening and reading the room.
Totally.
Whether it's right or wrong, ultimately whether it works, what we're saying is, right now, you get the feeling that Farage and his friends have got their finger on the pulse, right?
Exactly. They are always, at the minute, one step ahead of the game, and which is key, because they know, they've identified the problem, they know what the public are feeling, and they've got a solution for it. Their optics, the way that they're presenting themselves...
Oh, that was my phone. Did you see the Farage? I didn't know what you said, Christian. Sorry. Did you see the Farage thing with the big flag? Totally. I thought the most amazing thing, Mike and I were in the bar thinking that nobody from the police or anything tried to remove it whilst he was speaking.
Well, yes. Can you imagine? Because that's what you kind of expect from police forces.
I am going to go to a break on Morning Glory, but I have saved my ire for the next story, which is about that incompetent, ridiculous, meaningless Ed Davey, who this morning has admitted, I'm not going to the banquet that the King's throwing for Donald Trump because God told me not to. What an absolute bear. Back in 3. Quarter to 7, we're live across the UK. It's Morning Glory. JK for MG. He's in New York. He should be in bed. He's in an Irish bar. Brilliant for him. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. Text to 87222 or send a voice note. You can do that, Christian. They're right up for it this morning. The world's changed. Yesterday, Charlie Rowley, I tried to get hold of Bournemouth Water because there was some discrepancy about my direct debit. It took me 23 minutes, and congratulations, I eventually got through to Manila. That's the truth. Manila. I honestly am having a nightmare. Right, now, as we know, right, just a quick look at politics. We talked about Rayner dodging council tax. We talked about Reeves, front of the mail, being slagged off by the Asda boss. We've talked about Ed Millipede, he's anyway, about net zero. I've saved my biggest ire for this next guest. I have no idea, right, what Ed Davey. I still don't know what he stands for. I've no idea how the Liberal Democrats got 72 seats. I remember seeing him dressed as something out of Greece in the back of a car and bungee jumping in a sort of lycra suit off the edge of something. This man has come out today and said that because of his principles, but more importantly because God told him, he's not going to the banquet that the King's throwing for Donald Trump. How in the name of the sweet Lord does Ed Davey get 72? I mean, he's an idiot. He's another one. Well, he's the kind of guy that I think would look more comfortable in that dinghy with Angela Rayner, because that's what he did throughout the whole election, sort of appearing in wetsuits and doing all kinds of odd things. It was true, wasn't it? It was really weird. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he's boycotting Donald Trump's state visit.
So what? Who cares? See you, Ed. No one is looking.
Cares.
No one is looking at you. You know, it's not about you, dear, Ed. You know,
dear Ed.
You know, because you're right. Nobody knows what the Lib Dem stand for. They sponged off votes because people left the Tories because of all
Reform
the
have actually said, which I think is really interesting, that you could look at how Nigel Farage has mentioned this a couple of times. That you could look at how they targeted certain seats. I can't believe they won 72 seats with 3.4 million votes, and Reform won 4 with 4.1, 4.2. So there's something to be learned. But he's an absolute entity. They're coming in now. Voice notes 0344 499 1000. This afternoon, of course, the Bell Hotel judgment's gone to the Court of Appeal. Our own government, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday admitting through their KC that asylum seekers' rights outweigh local concerns. John, voice note, go.
John from West Yorkshire here. Hope you have a good couple of days on the show. Listen, this thing with the government and Epping Forest, if they win, that'll undermine planning law across the whole country, because we're based on case history in this sort of law, and therefore it'll mean that anyone who wants to do anything as a change of use with any part of their buildings or anything in planning law will be able to use this finding, if it goes in the government's favour, as precedent. I mean, undermine everything. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Completely agree with him, but if you cut through it, what he's basically true about is that yet again it seems that the priorities, that's the word I want to use this morning, the priorities of this government are fundamentally wrong, aren't they? Look at this story on page 2 of The Sun today, which is really interesting. The poorest hit hardest by a 4% rise in cost. Britain's poorest families have been squeezed the hardest by the latest rise in prices, right? I'm not into figures and stuff like that, but the reality is, when you've got a government that comes to power and talks about, you know, working people. Somebody said to me the other day, the Labour Party's name was because it was about the labourers in this country. I spend a lot of time in Newcastle. I'm telling you this, there is not a working person north of Watford Gap, and there are many, who would believe that this government is talking for working families, and they still con themselves into believing that. I think that people want honesty. You talked about what politicians should be doing. Be honest. I'm sick of people pretending to be squeaky clean and then you find out they're into rent boys or cocaine. Stand up and be who you are. Stand up and tell the truth.
Totally. And don't take the British public for fools. Don't gaslight the British public. You know, but it is just... You know, when you wake up in the morning, as your listeners and viewers do, as they say, they get up at 4 in the morning. What do they wake up to? They wake up to crime up, illegal immigration up, energy bills up, taxes up, you know, inflation
Food up,
is
everything up.
Everything.
Council taxes up.
Unemployment is up. You know, taxes are up. You know,
Mike's up.
Pardon?
Mike Graham's up.
Mike Graham is up.
He's always up. Well, you understand. You see what I did there? You weren't quick enough for that.
The only thing worth getting up for. But you know, people are just at breaking point. And when you hear that this government has just got its head in the sand, its fingers in its ears, when it's going against what the British public want through these kind of court judgments, that is what is annoying British people, rightly so, because it's a lack of fairness in this country, and that's why so many people are screaming out now for change.
Completely agree. Steve's in Barnsley. Here's an idea, Jez. Make it law that whatever is written in the manifesto must be delivered. If you lie in any other job except a weatherman, who remembers Michael Fish, then you lose your job. It's quite simple. Beatrice is in Worcester. Jeremy, this court ruling today, if this goes in favour of the government, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess as to what the response will be. Voice note. Dave is in Essex. Good man.
Morning, Jezza. Dave from Essex. Mate, my house went up for sale last week. I'm moving to Thailand. I've just had enough. I don't want to hear any more about the UK. I'm just absolutely sick of the stuff that's going on here.
Brilliant. I don't know what we're supposed to say when a man phones up and says, I'm selling my house and going to Thailand. Good luck. Have a nice time. Send us some pictures. 9 minutes to 7. We're live across the UK. If you want to be part of Morning Glory, Mike's in a bar in New York. It's Jezza for the next few days. 0344 499 1000. Back in 3. I wish you could hear what's going on, actually not on air. Brilliant. 5 to 7, we're live across the UK. Morning Glory is on. Jez, says Mick. This is good, Charlie. Did Ed Davey ask God when he lied to students about tuition fees and stopped our nuclear energy programme when in coalition? Because when politicians mention God, says Mick, I sort of believe they're finished. It's interesting.
Yeah, and also...
Oh, go on.
Sorry, just on Ed Davey, because it's just come to me, and it should have been the first of our... You know, this is the guy who is the Minister for the Post Office. during the whole post office scandal, and I don't think he was seeking God's help when he was trying to help the people, the post office.
You're becoming as big a bitch as me.
Well, sorry.
Michael's in Birchington. He says, Swanley's in Kent, you idiot. Good morning, Jez. If Starmer had sold me a car that failed to do what he said, it would have been returned in short order. Why do we have to wait till 2029 to get rid of this ridiculous government? Pat's in West Sussex. Brilliant. Good morning, Jez. I know I'm a bit thick, but when did the word lying suddenly become gaslighting? It's bloody lying.
True.
It's true.
Very true.
Dave's in North Wales, which is great. Good morning, Jezza and Charlie. I've never been so depressed as a British hard-working taxpayer. The government rips us off, the councils rip us off, the illegal migrants laugh at us, and they rip us off as well. The only good thing after all this is Labour will not govern this country again, and I live in Wales, and I can tell you that. What? Morning, Jezza and Peeping Charlie. Why are you known as Peeping Charlie, says Tony from Sussex. The fear on Rowley's face. I've never met him. I have a horrible feeling that the court is going to be persuaded to go against the majority of the people of our still great country and overturn the earlier ruling of Epping. Great show. We miss Mike, but we love you too, Jez. And say good morning to Peeping Charlie.
Who's this?
This is Tony from Sussex.
Tony from Sussex?
Yes.
No idea.
What, Peeping Charlie?
Peeping Charlie.
It's quite worrying, that. I'd hardly call you PC.
Can we call my lawyers, please?
Tickle your what?
My lawyers.
Did you say tickle your
no,
lawyers?
call
Your lawyers, right.
lawyers.
Calls on 0344 499 text to 87222. It is Friday morning. We're live across the UK. The big news before we let you off to go and see the man in Sussex. Harry's coming back to the United Kingdom next week. I'm so bored of this. Did you see the Meghan Markle stuff? The only good thing about that if you saw the video, we'll play it after 7. In the middle of it, somebody's doing pottery. It's a bit phallic. It's like a penis, if I'm completely honest. But when I see her going, bread, this is such a great feeling to slice bread. I don't know why he's coming back. I don't know what the hell it's all about. Be very interesting to see.
I would welcome him back.
Would you?
With his tail between his legs, which clearly I think
his
is
ginger
going
tail
to
between his ginger legs.
He has done awful things to his family, writing a book, calling them racist. He's been obviously swept up in whatever relationship this is that he's in. If it is the end of his relationship with Meghan Markle, if he wants to come back to the UK, I think we would welcome him. He's
Don't think his brother will.
He's been a silly, He's been a silly, angry child.
Well, I'm going to listen. I'm only here for 4 days, so they can get rid of me. The very first time I met a very high-ranking person in News UK, that we were talking about this story, and they asked me my opinion. Harry and Meghan, him, the second world is whipped. I don't care what anybody tells me. She's done an absolute job on that kid. But the way he has trounced his family and trashed royalty, my thing's simple. If you don't want to be part of it, that's great. I don't have a problem. But you can't then spend your life only making money, slagging off the very thing you purport to not be interested in. I think they're hypocrites. She can never set foot in this country again.
No, I think that's absolutely right. But for him, I would, he's had a... he's got a history. He has been a silly boy. He's been he's been an angry man, and he's done awful things. Do you think you can put him back on
the straight and narrow, Peeping Charlie?
Tony and I, from Sussex, we'll do our best, obviously. But he'll have to remain quiet. I mean, he can't have he can't be a working boy again, I don't suppose. No. But what she has done to turn his life upside down, and the way in which they've treated, has been awful. And so
on a purely family level, I don't think his dad's well. I think we all know that. I think maybe there's something there. I know William won't see him. Can I just say that I've enjoyed spending an hour in your company more than I ever could possibly have imagined.
Oh, that's very
Where
kind.
are you off to now? Sussex for a bit of a peep,
well, I know I might go for a bit of breakfast upstairs.
Will
maybe.
You? What are you going to have?
A bit of sausage, maybe.